This movie was exhausting.
Yes, I would agree.
Exhausting. I feel like I have a hangover just from watching it.
It was not what you expected.
No, it's exactly what I expected. Okay. It's basically exactly what I thought it was going to be. Nonetheless, it was exhausting.
Ready for that? Checking into a Vegas hotel under a phony name with intent to commit capital fraud and a head full of acid? I sure hope so.
Where are you stopping the car for? You can't stop here. This is backcountry. Fine. You had me watch a movie.
I had you watch the 1998 Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas, based on the book Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas by Hunter S. Thompson.
Hunter S. Thompson, that's right, legendary Gonzo journalist. This movie was exhausting.
Yes, I would agree.
Exhausting. I feel like I have a hangover just from watching it.
It was not what you expected.
No, it's exactly what I expected. Okay. It's basically exactly what I thought it was going to be. Nonetheless, it was exhausting. It just never lets up. You are immersed in their drug-fueled
insanity.
Just psychosis for 2 hours, and it just never stops. You don't get a break, you don't get a pause, you don't get a breather. It's just non-stop, zonked out insanity.
Get in.
A friend of mine said, don't watch the movie, read the book first, and then watch the movie.
Yeah, I had actually read the book 25 plus years ago.
Yeah.
During a time when I was checking out a lot of stuff like that, the electric Kool-Aid acid test, On the Road.
That Illuminatus book.
During the time when I read the Illuminatus book was around the same time that I read this. We have a video about the Illuminatus book in our archives for anyone who's interested, so look for that. But so I had read Fear and Loathing ages ago. I'm a big fan of the director Terry Gilliam. Or Gilliam, I think it's a hard G.
Yeah.
He's done some of my favorite flicks, Brazil, Time Bandits, the really underrated The Fisher King, and of course 12 Monkeys, which is...
I love that movie.
Yeah, one of my absolute favorite science fiction movies. His style is very recognizable. Lots and lots of Dutch angles, and the camera twisting and turning, and just lots of bonkers insanity. You know, people who are off their rocker.
No.
Yeah, it's one of the only movies that I always really enjoyed and that feels longer than it is.
Yeah.
Even though I enjoy it. Usually it's the opposite, a movie feels shorter when it's good.
They gave me the LSD and they took me to the hotel. I don't know what they done to me, but I remember it was horrible.
I got into the scene where Benicio Del Toro is in the bathtub.
Yeah. The White Rabbit scene.
Yes.
Okay, close those peepers.
I was just like, all right, I gotta be getting close to the end here, right? Pop up the timer, I was like, oh my, I still have an hour to go. I have never, ever in my life seen a movie do a better job of capturing the utter insanity of just being totally disconnected from reality. When they're checking into the hotel, the carpet, basically the carpet colors bleeding and shifting and changing.
And all their faces, and because they're all taking acid.
Yeah.
This man suffers from a bad heart, but I have plenty of medicine. My name is Dr. Gonzo. Parasweet at once.
The bit when they first arrive in the bar where Johnny Depp, Hunter S. Thompson, looks around and everyone they're lizards.
Yeah, the lizard people.
Everyone are lizard people. One, it was actually kind of disturbing and gross.
I was right in the middle of a fucking reptile zoo. And somebody was giving booze to these goddamn things.
And then also so perfectly done because he's seeing all these horrific scenes and he's he kind of takes it as a matter of course, but he's also shocked by it. And then he just turns and has a normal conversation, like, you know, with his lawyer.
Yeah.
The movie does a lot of that, where they'll be in this totally insane moment and then just pick up like a normal conversation, right? Because it's that moment of being drugged out and then briefly snapping to reality.
The fear of losing the only other person you're with who's on the same ride as you. Whenever his lawyer would leave and he was alone, that fear would get, I'd be like, oh my God, he's here alone. Like when he's in the circus.
Yes. Oh yeah, yeah.
When the lawyer can't get off the carousel.
Yes.
Chicken shit bastard!
But because of the camera work, the sort of twisty camera work, things start to sort of melt and move and loom around him, and it's
the paranoia is like so heavy, especially with his lawyer. The character is so paranoid. He just makes everything so like frightening. Because the movie itself is actually pretty funny. The bathtub scene is funny when he hits him in the head with the. Even though you're scared and laughing at the same time, because he's got the knife and you don't know if he's gonna wig out because he's like ate all that acid.
Or what, like you mentioned earlier with the ether, trying to walk in.
And they just kind of like usher them in, even though they're all screwed up and everything.
It makes you behave like the village drunkard in some early Irish novel. The mind recoils in horror, unable to communicate with the spinal column, which is interesting because you can actually watch yourself behaving in this terrible way, but you can't control it.
There's just a lot of funny scenes in it, but it's always mixed with paranoia and fear at the same time.
The humor is unsettling. I found it very unsettling.
Yeah.
Because it is funny, but it's funny because like everything is wrong.
Yeah.
In this town, they love a drunk. Fresh meat. So they put us through the turnstiles and turned us loose inside.
The movie's filled with little cameos by relatively well-known stars like Tobey Maguire in the beginning. He's the hitchhiker in the beginning.
The hair.
He was lying to me.
Yeah,
Cameron Diaz.
Diaz is in the elevator. She makes Benicio Del Toro lose his shit finally.
Yeah.
When they're in the elevator scene and she thinks he's one of the guys that rides motorcycles, and he tries to act like he does, but then the photographer calls him out and he gets all like crazy about it.
Yeah, this is one of those movies where it's like there's not really
a story.
There's not really anything to break down as far as story is concerned. There's not even really much as far as like character is to break down is concerned, because it's not a character study.
No.
It's you are just on their drugged out ride with them.
Let's talk over the line. On the railway station. One talk over the line.
While watching it, I found myself thinking like this is brilliantly made. It's brilliantly done. It captures this state of mind better than almost anything I've ever seen before. It's just absolutely fantastic. But I don't know that I'm like inclined to watch this straight through again anytime soon.
I watched it last night. It was the first time my wife, she saw parts. She only remembered one part of the entire movie from the first time. It's the scene in the bathroom with Flea.
Yes, Flea's another cameo.
When he spills the acid on his
the sleeve.
And the guy comes in and he has that little speech about how like the guy who caught them and he'll never understand.
Yes.
Always thinking that just behind some narrow door in all his favorite bars, men in red woolen shirts are getting incredible kicks from things he'll never know.
Do you think all of it's true, or do you think he embellished? Because to be fair, if that all happened, there's a pretty good chance he didn't remember most of it anyway.
Yeah, that's the kind of thing that's tough to say. I would be surprised if there wasn't some degree of invention.
Because he was good for that too, right? So
yeah, absolutely. The guy was a showman to some extent. He's certainly a weirdo, though at the same time, I mean, there's actual footage of him having like an actual gunfight with his neighbor. So the guy was a madman. If only half of it was an actual experience.
That's what I was gonna say. If even half is just true, it's amazing.
It's just mind-boggling.
Clean your shorts! Clean your
I was just gonna say I don't know if I can actually use the words I enjoyed it. Like, I'm real glad that I watched it and I was impressed by it, and I loved the filmmaking. I loved the filmmaking throughout. I thought Johnny Depp was great.
He is the only reason you feel comfortable through any of it, because at least he's sort of funny in it, and you also know he's not so off the wall as his lawyer.
Excuse me, sir.
What?
You can't park your car here.
Is this not a reasonable place to park?
Reasonable? You're on a sidewalk.
I thought that was one of his better roles.
Yeah, and to be clear, when I say I'm not sure that I can actually say that I enjoyed it, it's not because I didn't think it was a great movie or anything like that. It's because it's just such a difficult ride to sit down and take all at once. I could see watching it in stages, chunks of it over the course of a couple of nights, but man, by the time you get to the end of that thing, you feel as if you just got done eating gobs of drugs. And,
you feel like you were with them.
Yeah, absolutely, and that's to Terry Gilliam's credit. I mean, just the filmmaking is terrific. The use of special effects was fantastic because the spots were chosen very well and used in very specific ways in order to be effective, in order to make you understand their experience. Like anytime they're back in the room, in the hotel room, it's that you had that almost like red dark room lighting. That felt grimy and dirty. Like I actually hated being in the room.
I was just gonna say, I hated being in the room. Whenever they were in the room, you just wanted to get out of the room, which is exactly what he was trying to do.
Yeah, which again is so on point. It's so on point.
What are you talking about now?
You scare the shit out of those people. They were ready to call the cops.
7 years ago.
Oh my God. 21. Yeah, every time Johnny Depp is trying to fall asleep, you're like, get out of the room. Go, just sleep in the hall. Sleep in the stairwell. Like, get out of this room.
Yeah.
Smoke some grass. Shoot some fucking smack. Please. Let me get some fucking rest, man. Please.
But then they get out of the room, and then they walk into scenarios where there's all sorts of people around and all sorts of odd things going on, and that then their heads go fuck with that. It was a pretty wild ride. It was a pretty wild ride.
Where do you see those goddamn bats, man?
I'm glad you finally got to see it.
Yeah. Considering that I'm a big Gilliam fan, and I like Johnny Depp's more unusual roles. He's consistently worth watching in basically any like more oddball role that he does like that. And Del Toro is always weird and a delight.
Big lift, sonny boy. There you go.
I'm glad I finally checked this one off my list. It was a good one for our 20th episode for sure.
There he goes. One of God's own prototypes. Too weird to live and too rare to die.
I do have to say, for other people who have watched this movie, whether you enjoyed it or you think it was too crazy for you or whatever, please leave some comments in the comments section. Let's get a discussion going about this utterly insane movie, as well as about Hunter S. Thompson's work as well. The book that it's based on. For any of you who have read it, I'd like to hear your thoughts on that as well. So Tig.
Yes, Eric.
Since we are in a car,
oh boy,
we are driving.
Right.
I thought that it would be appropriate that this movie that I give to you,
oh boy,
to also be driving related.
Is it Driving Miss Daisy?
It's similar. It's very similar. And you will be watching 1976's Taxi Driver.
This point up there just for that.
I know, I tried that.
Travis, you run all over town, don't you?
12 hours of work and I still can't sleep. They don't end.
I really want to... I got some bad ideas in my head.
Finally!
So that is your assignment.
That sounds great. I'm looking forward to the insanity.
Return to moi, and we will talk about Scorsese's Taxi Driver.
I will do it.
If you want more of this, you want to support us, get exclusive stuff, see these videos early on patreon.com. Until then,
Thanks for hanging out at the movie club.